So how exactly does Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige refer to Marvel Studios projects? Well, there's the films, and then there's everything else. It's all just on the side as everything else. So in a recent interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige was asked about the future of the MCU, and specifically the different content outlets that they have now, and the different types of content that they're providing going forward. Because if we look at Marvel Studios so far, it's been the films and tie-in comics, and these comics are usually just like this little prelude issue, and it gives you a little bit of details, but nothing more. There was of course Marvel Entertainment's Marvel TV side of things that was just sort of sitting on there on the periphery, but Marvel Studios projects never really acknowledged all of that. Well, he wanted to clarify and explain how he clarifies and explains the difference to everybody, and he says there's the feature films, and they're called the film side of things, and everything else, including WandaVision, all the TV shows, the comics, MCU's What If animated series, and whatever else they got in the future, like the holiday special for the Guardians. Those are all everything else. Now, to me, this is interesting because that's sort of how he started to refer to the Netflix stuff as well recently, and the Fox stuff and comics. He says we can look at everything else we have, and we can pull from that. We can use things from that. So I think the more and further we get into the MCU's future, the more they're just going to acknowledge everything else as it's all in continuity, sort of like how DC has started to do with their live action properties, where you look at it, they're like, oh no, everything's connected. What do you mean everything's connected? Like the films, the TV shows, it's all a multiverse, it's all a thing. I think naturally Marvel Studios is taking the same approach because it just makes sense. It's the best way to do it. That's sort of what's best for business. And if you start thinking about it, the more you clump everything into everything else, it tells you it's not the films, and it's just easier to sort of, I guess, differentiate the content, right? Hey, what's this project going to be? A film. And what's this? That's everything else. So if they want to do more Marvel Studios animated series down the road, or focus on more Marvel Studios direct comic tie-ins, because Kevin Feige now overlooks all of Marvel Comics, they can do that, and it falls into the everything else category. The movies are the movies, and that's the most important thing. That's our priority. But everything else is also there for you to enjoy, consume, and it's all part of everything. So I like this distinction, because he doesn't have to go out there and be like, well, yes, that's a TV project, and that's an animated project, that's a comic project. It's like, no, that's part of the other thing, don't worry about it. And as some people have speculated, that's not de-emphasizing their importance. That's just clarifying that the movies are the films. The films are films, everything else is everything else.